So, Mr. Dwight, can you give us a brief introduction on yourself, sir?
Well, a little bit about myself. I would say this, that I've been a part of the McKim Center since the age of 13. I am now 62 years of age. It was my first experience at McKim was driven by the fact that I lived in public housing. And living in public housing, I saw that McKim had a wrestling team, and I wanted to try wrestling simply because I didn't want to be picked on, and I thought that would be a good sport.
Okay.
My brother and I came down, we learned wrestling, and we were pretty much known as the Warren Boys. You didn't want to mess with us.
Okay.
So from that experience of being heavily indoctrinated into wrestling, it allowed me to become the coach, it allowed me to be the mentor, it had allowed me to work my way all the way up from the program director to executive director. That sport of wrestling is sort of the cornerstone of my life. Been married, had 2 kids, but it seemed like everything sort of centers around wrestling. And at this late age and stage in my life, I'm proud to say it paid off. I am now a member of the Maryland chapter of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Okay, congratulations. I give you a hand for that one. Okay, but let me ask you a question. With the popularity of mixed martial arts and everybody just getting into wrestling now, grappling and all that stuff, how important has wrestling been growing up in the urban environments?
Well, you know, you have to always remember this. As you've witnessed, sort of coming to this neighborhood back then and even today, there is a rite of passage. And a rite of passage is for you as a young man to hold your own, be it on the basketball court, be it whatever activity you pursue. You want to always exemplify yourself as being the best. Wrestlers, by and far, get a lot of respect from their peers. When you get into the mixed martial arts, the first thing folks are thinking, here is someone that have learned the discipline and know how to protect themselves.
Okay. But would you say that in urban environments, you done had a lot of guys that's natural, they just can fight? I mean, you don't have to go to the school and learn how to fight. Would you say that when they go into like your program and I believe martial art programs, basically a coach fine-tunes their natural ability?
Yes, it fine-tunes their natural ability, plus it allows you to bring out the inner core of yourself.
Right,
you know, you've always got to remember, you were born by yourself, along with your mom, but in most cases, you're going to face the rest of your life in a one-on-one situation.
Okay.
And you need to have the capacity, the know-how, and have the confidence in yourself that you can stand before another individual or a big problem and work it out.
Right. So, I mean, so in the hood, as I could say, I mean, would you agree that you done seen times where some guys, wrestlers, boxers, would be out there on the street just beating the living daylights out of somebody and a whole crowd of people just sitting around watching them with no training, no concern for a title, but just to beat the living daylights out of, smash or demolish someone? I mean, would you agree?
I've seen that, not as much as in the past. Now, every man just about loves to see a spectator sport. That is the confrontation of another individual. Mm-hmm. I mean, we watch it even on football. You want to see your team run over top of another team. So it's something inherent about men specifically, not to shorten the effort of the female, but we always want to be sort of the gladiator, sort of the best of what we are. And once you come to that point where your own inabilities is your sole strength, other folks haven't challenged themselves to where you have as a martial artist.
So would you agree that grappling and those type of combative arts are nothing new? I mean, it's almost like a fad right now, but if you grew up in certain environments, that's just like drinking water.
It's nothing new. It's more of a who can get who to the ground, who can take you off your feet, the balances. As I watch the mixed martial artists on TV, I find 95% of the wrestlers are the ones that are winning.
Right.
Because they have that grappling experience, they have that balance, quickness, and the ability to throw. And now when you add in some of the submission holds, it's, you know.
So would you grapple a guy in the hood? Would you grapple a guy on the corner? Would you lock him up and do all that stuff?
Well, as old as I am now, I'd have to think about it.
Right.
But I'll tell you this, I'm a man that feels this, no one-on-one can ever do anything to me.
Right, okay.
And my thing is, I will protect myself always with this in mind. I need to protect myself to the point where I can exit from this.
Right, right. So you're not trying to ground fight. It's not, I mean, even you being good at wrestling, the last thing you want to do is wrestle a guy on concrete
Right.
or in a street fight.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I would teach my kids to do that. I mean, street fighting, that's not an arena to do it.
Right.
I mean, you
Okay.
can do permanent harm to yourself and to another individual if you're on the street. You do this in a controlled environment where there's mats, there's referee, there's things that of attention. But if you out there doing it,
Right. So from a combat, I think of a guy by the name of Lumpy Joe. I used to love to see Lumpy Joe run people's heads into the walls, body slam them across the fence. I mean, you know, wrestle them and scrape them across the concrete. I mean, I'm telling the truth, right? Or you see somebody like a Muggsy Bogues out there, as little as he is, flipping some of the biggest guys, slamming them, but not rolling on the ground. So I guess we would call it striking, exiting, footwork, locking, and trying to do damage to a person where they can't move no more. That's the reality of the street fight. I mean, would you agree, even being a wrestling coach and being as great as you are, I mean, would you agree?
that's it. The objective is to get your man off his feet so he can't do you harm.
Okay, okay. And in closing, knowing, I mean, because we didn't, how many years? I've been here since what? Since I was
I want to say my years here at McKim now is 47.
okay,
47 years plus. And I said to everybody, I never intended to stay here. I tried to leave this place twice, and God said, no, I want you to stay. And I've been fortunate to see how your beginning was and the challenges that were thrown upon you. I see it all the time with some of my ex-wrestlers, some of the other folks, and the people come back and say, hey, is Mr. Dwight still there? Yes, he's still there. And the first thing they look at me and say, oh, man, he looks good. Well, I can only attribute that to God and the mere fact that I've been around you young folks a lot, so I have kind of incorporate my movement, my sometime being in shape so that I can, you know, still bump with you guys.
right. Now, knowing, I mean, you see me grow, I mean, what was it like, I mean, to see how low I went down? I mean, I don't know the story because I never really, as a matter of fact, it's probably the first time I've even asked you this. Probably make me cry, whatever,
Well,
man.
you know, you were, first of all, you were headstrong on doing what Bam wanted to do. Whatever it took for you to get the attention, and this is the way when you first came to me, I didn't pay you much attention. I know you probably took an attitude and say, okay, this man don't know what he's talking about, but you were persistent. When you went to work with Kenny, you went out there, you didn't have any formal training, but you just had the ability that you knew gymnastics. And then when Kenny worked with you, you understood the need that you had to read and to study. You know, I remember you used to walk around with your books. What's his name?
Bruce Lee books.
Bruce Lee books. Tons and tons of Bruce Lee books and acting out. Then when you got into the neighborhood, folks were saying, did you see Bam? Did you see Bam? I can recall when you kind of went off track, you know, with your situation in the drug market and things like that. But you've always kind of had that thing of respect for folks like myself and the discipline of martial art.
So, I mean, what was it like? I guess, I mean, I'm sitting here crying, man. I mean, just to, you know,
Well, you know,
to see me write you from jail or to hear me over there shooting and...
right, you know, even at your jail experience, and I've seen it happen so many times, that was during the era of time when the distribution of drugs and selling of drugs became a major industry in public housing. When I first moved there at the age of 7, that did not take place. By the time I was 13 years of age, the projects, Lafayette projects and all the other places changed. It became a warfare. It became, each building conducted its own activities. If you had one building, and I'm quite sure you had a building, you could not go beyond the 5th floor in that building because it was controlled. You know, folks were actually doing bodily harm to other folks that didn't give them that money. So it got to a point where it was survival. I mean, you can even look at it today, somewhat in some neighborhoods, for a kid to walk home from school in the neighborhood where I live at, Park Heights. If this kid doesn't have a certain swagger, or this kid doesn't have certain connection, from the bus stop to his home, it's almost like a venture through a swamp. He's got to act the act, he's got to do the things he has to do, or he's going to get picked up. And most of these kids are not aware of the fact of what they're doing when they're imitating these guys. Well, you as a martial artist, as we met as a wrestler, guess what we have different? We can confront individuals. We don't have that fear. You follow what I'm saying? You could take somebody from the Blood and the Crips and say, look, man, this not my walk. Now, if you know your stuff, he's going to leave you alone. But if you're weak, you didn't have that experience, you're going to succumb to it because you are afraid. And that's the beauty of becoming a martial artist and even a wrestler. We separate ourselves from the group.
Oh.
I don't never like to say this personally, but I know many of my guys and you, the drug dealers, recruited you heavily. And the reason why they wanted to come after you guys was that you were tough guys. You could handle your own.
And would you say, I guess, even when we take away the stigma of wrestling or martial arts, just being a man of respect and trying to be that example for other people, because I think the last thing we want to do, if you come from that sort of violence, the last thing you want to do is promote that false sense of violence amongst people when you're teaching them martial arts, mixed martial arts, whatever it may be. I mean, would you agree?
Absolutely. There's always a kid that wanted to be with us. There's a lot of kids that's out there in mass with them, but in their heart, they really want to come and be with a band or be with a Coach Warren. So there has to be BAMs and Coach Warrens to receive them.
Right.
And we have to be able to walk out there to the Bloods and the Crips and say, hey man, when you get tired of this, you can come join us.
Right. I mean, and I guess in closing, I mean, I didn't think that we was going to have this interview and I was going to be crying. But I guess even coming back here is kind of like my way to just say, I apologize for all the insanity that I put in this community. I mean, because, I was right there on the front line. I mean, and I know we never really talked about it, and I'm just blessed to even be able to come back and do what I'm doing. But I guess, once again, it's not about promoting violence. It's about standing up and knowing that a good man or real martial artist, wrestler, man, whatever you want to be, he don't promote violence. He does whatever he can do to deter and teach another generation. Because when you can kill somebody, you don't have to go out and tell people you can kill somebody. You become a man of peace. Would you agree? Absolutely.
You never want to do that. You never want to kill anyone. You always want to put yourself in a position that you protect yourself. But I'll say this in tongue-in-cheek, to hear you now saying you're sorry about some of the things you did, particularly about stealing the candy and stuff, I forgive you. I mean, you bought back things for the Christmas. You know how you did your group did the Christmas baskets and things like that. So you are forgiven.
Right. Well, thank you, sir.
My pleasure.